A couple of years ago, FandomWire magazine ranked the Astrid Experience the fifth greatest iPhone film of all time, behind Sean Baker's Tangerine, two Steven Soderbergh films, and one other movie. Hello friends, I'm Cal Barnes, this is Unlimited Creation, and today we're going to explore what's possible when you make a decision that you are going to make a feature film no matter what. In 2019, I wanted to make a film. I was frustrated with acting and writing, for the most part because of the lack of control. I had sold a screenplay, it got turned into a film, and it turned out so different than what I imagined that I realized that if I ever wanted a film to be like I saw it in my head, or to be my vision, that I was going to have to direct. Now, what I've learned is I'm still grateful that that film got made and that I sold that script. If you sell a screenplay, just know that the film is not going to be what you wrote. It's just not. The odds of that happening after it's filtered through another person are very, very low. It could be better than you had in your head, or it could be worse, but it will be different. So, if you want your script to be a movie like you wrote and like you see in your head, then you have to direct. And after selling my first script and also selling some shorts that got made and having them be so far from what I originally imagined, most of them much worse, to be honest, with the shorts, and with the feature definitely much different, then I realized that I was going to have to begin directing. And as an actor, I was frustrated with the roles I was getting, and I was frustrated with being a very good actor and losing parts to more established actors, specifically child stars who had 20 years on me and who were already established. I remember specifically one story. I auditioned for this thriller film. It was a $15,000 job that shot in New York. I auditioned, I got callback, I got final callback. The producers loved me. It was about a $200,000 film. We were all set to go, and then this casting director, whoever she may be, told them that they needed to have a quote-unquote big name in this ultra-low budget film. And the producers, they loved my performance, they loved everything about me, and I said, I was like, well, why don't we just make the film? You can make... you'll have a film and then you can get this name or whatever on your next one. But if you like the cast that you have and you have the budget, you should just make the movie instead of waiting for years more. So what happened is they actually did listen to that casting director. They halted the project. They shut the whole thing down. And I think it was like a year later or a couple years later, they ended up casting this child star in the part. And I'll be honest, didn't look great. Yeah, he had the name, but this guy was hammered looking. Anyway, they made the film, and nobody ever heard of it. What it's done since, I have no idea, but nobody ever heard of it. Obviously, this is very frustrating for me, someone who auditioned out of hundreds of people. I rose to the top as the best actor. I did a ton of free work. I did audition, I did callback, I did final callback, and all at the end for them to shut the whole thing down and just give it to some washed up child star that already had a very established acting career. This has happened to me countless times as an actor rising up in Hollywood, and I cannot explain how frustrating this is. And any actor that you talk to, for the most part, except those that hit very early on and never had to go through the auditioning process or the process from going from literally, especially if you move from the outside like me, you moved here, don't know anybody, start at the bottom, start working your way up. Anyone that's had to go through that process, I guarantee you, if they're at all successful and didn't quit and have rose up the ranks in any capacity, they will have at least one, two, or many stories just like this one. That is just one of the most frustrating stories I ever had. And it was one of the reasons why I was like, I need to take control of my career. So, on a positive note, that's just life. I'm not resentful about it. I'm not angry about it. It's part of the business. It's just reality. I have no wishful thinking that it won't be like this. One day I'll likely be in a position like that, and I will take a lot of jobs from other actors. That's just the way it is. And as a producer, obviously I understand, because I want to hire an actor with the most clout that I can get for my budget so that people watch my movie and I can make my money back and I can make my next movie. It's a circular system and it all makes sense. So no resentment. I think the producers made a bad choice because undoubtedly I looked better for the part. I was hungry. I would have killed it in that role, and the film wasn't successful anyway, and I believe the film would have been a lot more successful if they used me, But hey, that's just my opinion, and they do have the right to do whatever they want with their movie. Anyways, that said, it was my frustration with acting and writing, and so I decided I was going to produce my first feature film. So in 2019, I was talking to one of my creative friends, a musician named John That. I ended up directing one of his music videos in 2014 called Hippie Girl. It's a really cool music video. I'm proud of it, and it's a great song by him. And we were just talking about how we wanted to collaborate again and maybe do something bigger, like let's make a feature film, let's do it. Him and me obviously had the capacity to produce something. I believe it's one of his most popular videos, and it turned out really cool. So we're like, why don't we collaborate again? And I had this old script that I wrote in 2012 called the All-Night Los Angeles Romance Project. Can't remember the exact title. And I busted it out because I had enough experience at that point knowing that I would have to have a screenplay that we can shoot in Los Angeles, that I have access to the locations, and that is producible on an extremely, extremely modest budget, most likely self-financed by him and I. So I busted that out. I read it. It was actually pretty good. I did a full rewrite on it. Can't even remember how much new content I added, but at least 50% of it was rewritten. And I made a list of all the locations that I had access to. And I had access actually to quite a lot by then because I'd lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. So I wrote down this list. And I wrote a screenplay around it. Also had the ability to write because I was in my 10 to, I don't know which exact script this was, but I was between 10 and 20 screenplays at that point. So I understand a story arc. I understood the importance of producibility. So I did a full rewrite on the screenplay, and then we had some momentum. So I was like, let's just shoot the movie, because I knew from watching so many people fail, including myself. I tried to get much bigger projects off the ground, but from watching other people fail, I knew that the most important thing was to shoot the movie. And I'd seen so much success, especially in the mumblecore movement, with people just making films. If you could just shoot a feature film, even if it was for $5,000, $10,000, you could make a film. You're now a feature filmmaker, and you now have a film that literally anyone in the world can see, and you never know what will happen. It could go to a tier 1 festival and blow up. What I didn't realize is that I was basing that off the 2010s era, when that was happening all the time. And by the time I was filming in 2019, we were at the very tail end of that really ever happening anymore. It does happen. I was looking at Cooper Raiff's. He did this film. I am forgetting the name of it, but I will put the poster over this so people can see it. There were films that were still doing it, but it was becoming less and less frequently. By the time our film came out, small ULB dramas and dramedies blowing up was practically extinct. We couldn't have seen that coming, but that's where we're at. That said, I did have experience watching people blow up from these tiny movies, so I was like, let's just make one. So we had the script. I worked overnight gigs for, I think, an entire season. I don't know if it was fall or summer or spring, but for about 3 months, I did overnight deliveries to get a few extra $1,000. I bought film equipment so we could start shooting stuff. And then we were getting ready to go. John put up the majority of the financing. It was like 80% of it, 90% of it to shoot the film in the beginning. I'm really grateful to him for that. Also a fantastic musician. Go listen to his music. It's incredible. He performs in the Astrid Experience, by the way, and he has a supporting character in it, and he is the lead producer on it. So we just began making the film. I had access. I knew a lot of actors. I had access to a casting studio, so we casted it. That was a really amazing experience. We had, I think, 1,500 submissions for the role of Astrid. Out of those 1,500 submissions, I saw about 80 actresses. Of those 80, I called back 3, and of those 3, 1 actress got it. And that just shows you how competitive it is in Los Angeles. I've literally been on the other side as a casting director. And even for tiny, tiny movies, when you're making something, especially a feature film, you will get thousands of submissions. And there are many, many talented actresses out there and actors that would love to be in your film. That said, we were paying some money for the lead actress in this because we wanted to get into that next tier of represented talent or talent that just won't do unpaid work. Sure enough, our actress came from a small agency and she was perfect for the part. So once we were casted, we just started going. I remember I started putting out ads, and like I said, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid, because once the train was moving, once I put out there in the universe that we were making this movie and we had a start date and we had financing, we began filling up the crew. I began putting up ads and people came on board. Our DP, Chris Pilarski, crazy story. He submitted as a PA, and he is a genius DP, super talented. He submitted as a PA. and I don't think he'll mind that I tell this story, but I looked at his resume, me and John, and we're like, yo, you're way too overqualified for this. Would you want to shoot it? And he said yes. I remember originally, I was just going to have John follow me around with an iPhone and shoot the movie. That's what we were going to do. I didn't know anything about crewing. I was just like, we're just going to shoot a movie. We're going to get it on camera. We're going to edit it, and that's it. We're going to make a movie no matter what, and nothing is going to stop us. So that's what we started doing. We saw Chris's ad, and we saw that he's like shot shorts and like big specs on Ari, and we're like, hey, you want to shoot this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, all right, great. You want to shoot it on Ari? He's like, no, I want to shoot it on an iPhone. I think what you're doing is so cool. And I was like, great. We'd love to have a professional DP shoot our movie. So that's what the biggest thing that made Astrid experience what it is. Shout out to our DP, Chris Pilarski, him coming on board and lending his expertise. What me and John did right, and grateful to John's financing at the time. I put in some more money, but it wasn't until post-production because I didn't have any more at the time. But we had Chris give us a list of everything he needed. We went to Wood and Nickel in North Hollywood. We rented what he needed. And with a couple PAs, shout out to Paige for doing such great work. She was our key PA and an amazing, amazing add to the crew. Chris, he literally he gaffed, he DP'd the whole entire movie, and the reason why Astrid looks so amazing, especially on an iPhone, is because of Chris Pilarski, so that was huge. And then with Chris, we built like a custom iPhone rig. I was really inspired by Sean Baker's The Tangerine, so basically I went online and I more or less verbatim just copied what he did. We built a few different rigs to stabilize it. We got the Moondog anamorphic lens kit for the iPhone, and they ended up sponsoring us, so we got some hookups with some lenses. We shot on Filmmaker Pro, which I still use to this day. We shot in 4K on Filmmaker Pro, which is what I'm shooting this video on my iPhone. So it's an incredible, incredible tool, and I still use it to this day. So we now were crewed up. We had our camera, we had our talent, we had our locations. I somehow cobbled together a schedule and call sheets based off templates I had from acting on a bunch of projects. Actually turned out pretty good, and somehow, some way, we shot the movie over 14 days in Los Angeles, and it was a ride. I think Dax Shepard once said directing a movie is the closest thing ever to being on cocaine without being on cocaine, and I will absolutely confirm that. It is wild. I think I averaged about 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, more like 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night for 2 weeks straight, and I somehow was still able to do it and act as well. What a ride, what a rush. It was incredible, and it was full of each day, me and John were just praying that the film would work and that people would show up and that our locations would hold, and it did. You know, one of the cool things about shooting on an iPhone is that you can just go out and shoot, and everyone just thinks you're shooting social media content. The film, for the budget, feels really, really big. We shot in Hollywood, we shot in raves, we shot in clubs, we shot at house parties. We shot all over the place, and when anyone would come up to me or try to stop us or ask us what we were shooting, I just say we're just shooting a social media video. It's free game. It's a great way to be able to shoot a movie without hassle, because really, honestly, a big RA camera or a boom is basically like the international symbol for, hey, everybody, we're shooting a movie. So without that, it's a crazy what can happen. Also, what I learned from Chris is that when you're shooting a film in 4K, no matter what camera it's on, if the acting isn't strong, the story isn't strong, the locations, the set design, hair and makeup, wardrobe, if that all doesn't look good, you're just seeing more of what's not good. And I loved what he said. He's like, the camera really doesn't matter as much as what's in front of it. I totally agree, especially for ULB films. I actually ended up learning color grading and editing to finish this movie. I remember at the end of the movie, we put in big white letters, shot on iPhone 8 Plus. And it blew minds. I had many people coming up to me asking me what we shot it on. Did you guys shoot on Ari? Did you shoot on Blackmagic? I was like, just watch till the end of the movie. And we definitely blew minds. FandomWire also said this was a huge level up for the visual look of iPhone filmmaking. And that is much thanks to Chris Pilarski and the incredible tools that I used in Blackmagic. DaVinci Resolve is one of the most incredible tools in the industry. I would recommend the full suite. It's $300 one-time payment for life, and you get all the upgrades, and it is one of the best deals in Hollywood. I use it for absolutely everything. Sound mixing, color grading, editing. It is an incredible tool, and the plugins such as the neat noise reduction tool and all of the things is one reason why Astrid looks so good considering the budget and considering the lighting we had access to. I am very proud of the visual look of that film, and it's because of Chris's shooting, and it's because of one, putting in the time to color grade it right, as good as possible for our budget, and using all the tools available. So once we got the film in the can, we hit what some people would call absolute post-production hell. I didn't know anything about post-production, and I kind of knew this was coming because I had a lot of experience in writing and pre-production, I had a lot of experience in acting on set, so I could see that, like I've talked about, I have to be able to see it in my head. I did not know what we were going to do when we got to post-production. I didn't know anybody in post-production. I didn't know how to do any of the things. We moved so fast because I just wanted to keep up the momentum that we went from script through casting to in the can in like one season. So I think we started like right around the beginning of 2019, and we were shot by like spring 2019 in the can. And then we just hit a wall, started just reaching out to Sundance editors. I met with a few of them. They were all going to be like 20 grand, and some that, cut a lot of similar movies that I really liked, and we just didn't have the money. So, we went out and started raising. I found this technology called WeFunder by listening to podcasts, which is another thing I really recommend young, hungry filmmakers do. When I was out there running around doing deliveries to get the financing for the Astrid experience, between deliveries, I would study and listen to podcasts all night long, sometimes from 6 to 7 hours straight, taking notes. And that's how I found WeFunder. We were actually the second wave on the platform. There was really only one group ahead of us, so we were really new adopters, and that's one reason why I think we found success on that platform, especially with a smaller movie. At the time, I remember it was just about $5,000 to $7,500 you needed to launch the project to their database of US accredited investors. Now in 2026, that number is $50,000, which was almost our entire budget. So now for ULB filmmakers, it hardly makes sense because you now need almost an entire ultra low budget just to launch the project, which kind of defeats the purpose, because if you don't have access to money and you're looking for money and you want to do a WeFunder for that reason, you now need basically as much as you need to make the movie just to get the project launch. So it doesn't make sense for ULB filmmakers anymore, in my opinion. It once did, but doesn't really make sense if your budget's, under a few $100,000, especially like $100,000. We're using it now because it's literally 10% of our budget for the Influencer House Massacre to launch the project. That's why getting this first $50,000 investor was so key, because that's the amount of financing we need to launch the project to its database of United States accredited investors. We have that, and we're launching in mid-July, and that's why it's so exciting. So for larger films, and by larger, not by Hollywood standards, but by independent standards, like once you move up into the $500,000+ range, WeFunder makes a ton of sense, and a lot of filmmakers have had a lot of success on that currently. When we got in the can, we did a raise on WeFunder and got that money, and we were originally trying to raise double what we did, and then COVID hit and just pretty much blew all of the plans that we set up out of the water, and began a very grueling process to get the film through post-production that took literally 3-something years. All that said, in the end of the day, I ended up having to do what I didn't even want to do anyways, which was edit and do everything in post-production, or edit and color grade the film. But I had to do that anyways. I ended up being the right person to edit it. So I learned Premiere, I learned Resolve, and I edited and color graded it. We think it turned out pretty good. John did the sound mix, and he did a fantastic job as well. The original music in the film has probably been the most acclaimed part of the movie. That is what is considered by some reviewers the strongest part, and I would have to agree, because the music is banging. So we got it through. Really, the lesson here and the steps here, to just recap, the steps are: figure out how to get the budget, get the film shot, find friends, finance it yourself, work another job, max out credit cards, literally do whatever you have to just to get the film in the can. Next, hire a DP. Get someone to shoot it professionally. Even if you shoot it on an iPhone, get someone that knows how to run a camera. Give a DP that has some good shorts, give them their first shot to shoot a feature film. Give them that shot. Give them that opportunity to shoot a feature. If you're creating the environment, you're bringing everything to the table for them to shoot, and you're bringing a good script, you're bringing a good cast, you'll be surprised at how many people will do it if they like the story and just want to get their first credit. As we talked before, all of Hollywood is a catch-22. You need a feature film. You need to have shot a feature film to shoot a feature film. You need to have starred in a feature film to star in the feature film. You need to have directed a feature film before anyone is likely going to hire you to direct a feature film. Everyone is looking for that first opportunity, and you'd be surprised at how many people see the value in just the credit. I'm not saying that this is a way to operate your business as an actor, as a DP, as a director. This is not something you want to do more than once or twice. This is something that can help you cross that barrier, because like we've talked about, in the most competitive industry in the world, what are you bringing to the table that someone that has more credits, experience, and has been paid on a lot bigger jobs isn't already bringing? If what you're offering is, hey, I'll do it for free for the credit, and I'm talking one time here so that you can cross that bridge, it's a very, very valuable thing. And it's something that I have done, and it's something that many other people have done on their rise. And, be strategic, look at the script, look at the people behind it. Because again, if you're investing your time or energy into something, make sure that you're investing in the people behind it. And what I'm very proud of with the Astrid experience, and what John and I are very proud of, is I believe that we gave a lot of people a really incredible credit. That film, although it didn't go to tier 1 festivals like we prayed and everyone prays, we submitted to Cannes, Sundance, all that, it didn't go to that. And what I also realized is it's pretty much completely unrealistic that ULB films are going to go there anymore. There was a time, but with Sundance getting 10 to 20,000 submissions per year, and what I also learned, I learned a lot about the back end on how markets and film festivals work. A lot of those slots are already taken up by large sales agents, production companies, and distributors, and there's a whole pipeline. So the amount of open available spots for truly independent films is very, very small compared to what people think. And I'm not slamming film festivals here because they are awesome, but in a sense, it is a bit of, I won't say scam, but it's definitely a money-making cycle where every year at this time, they know they're going to get tens of thousands of submissions, and those submission fees depends on early bird or late, but they're between average like $60, $80 to $120. Times that by 10,000 feature submissions, 20,000 short submissions, and you are looking at a very good consistent payday every year. And it is a bit schemy, in my opinion, when there's only a few slots open and you're taking money from thousands upon thousands of people, and they're not getting anything for it. That is a brutal reality of it. But hey, I still recommend shooting your shot, because if you believe in your film, you never know. If you have a small budget for it like we did, like a couple $1,000s to submit to film festivals, do it. But also manage your expectations. Our film, budget-wise, is a tier 3 film, and that's where we landed. And no surprises. It is possible that a film can go up or down a bit, but by the most part, where your film is going to land in the ecosystem is going to have a lot to do with the budget and the cast and the prestige of the filmmaker behind it, and that is, for 90% of the films, the reality. There are outliers where small films get plucked out of obscurity and put on the world stage. I have seen it happen, and it does happen, and that's what keeps the whole thing going. But just really manage your expectations with film festivals, and don't get scammed by these con artists out there like we did that claim that they can get your film into a tier 1 festival when it's a ultra low budget film with all new actors and a new filmmaker. The likelihood of that happening, although it is possible, anything's possible, I'm never going to say that, the likelihood of that happening is so small, and there are a lot of grifters out there that will prey on people in that position. So do not pay them to do that. Just submit the film, and if it's good enough, the programmers will program it, and if it's not, it will land most likely where the level of the budget and cast is. All that said, we made a banger film for the budget. It played 7 film festivals in Los Angeles. It won the Audience Award at the Los Angeles Liftoff Festival, and FandomWire ranked it. They ranked it the 5th greatest iPhone film of all time, and that was huge. And considering how many films have been shot on an iPhone at this point, there must be thousands globally, for real. That is incredible. And I do believe it is the greatest iPhone film ever shot on an iPhone 8 Plus ever. Our film is time-stamped in history in the evolution of iPhone filmmaking as likely the top 1 or 2 greatest films ever shot on an iPhone 8. And I am very, very proud of that. And that was actually one of my goals when I went out with John to make this movie, is I wanted to shoot the greatest film ever shot on an iPhone 8. and I believe we accomplished that. So that is how me and my team shot the 5th greatest film of all time on an iPhone, and it was an incredible experience. And the moral of the story is, if you want to make a feature film, don't let anything stop you. Just go out there and make it. Write a script that you can shoot wherever you are. Figure out what locations you can get for free, and if you can't get locations for free, shoot it on a freaking phone so that no one knows you're shooting a feature, and just do everything professional behind it. One misconception people say is, oh, just go shoot it on an iPhone. Yes, that's what we were going to originally do, but we did get lucky, and there is luck in this universe. But when you're bold and you go out there and do something, mighty forces will come to your aid, like Christopher Pilarski. He came to our aid, and what I learned is, if you are going to make a film on an iPhone, just make sure that everything around the film, like the script, which I provided, the cast, which we put together, just make sure that's all very, very good, and make sure that it is professional. And that way, what you are capturing on your phone does look good. So yes, go out there and make a film on your iPhone. Just make sure the other elements of the film are professional. Make sure that is a professional production. And even though our film was extremely low budget, it is a professional film, and it is out there and people are watching it, and I have been recognized multiple times from it, and I believe some of our other actors have as well, and nothing makes me happier than that. We also threw an amazing red carpet. It premiered at the Laemmle Royal Theater in Santa Monica on June 23rd, 2023, and that red carpet was fire. I will never forget it. It was so much fun. Some of our investors flew in. They had a great time, and it was truly incredible. It is an experience that is not to be missed, and I would wish that everybody that wants to have it would have the courage to go out there and make their first feature film so that they can have it. So that is how me and my team shot the 5th greatest film of all time on an iPhone. Thank you for tuning in to Unlimited Creation. I'm Cal Barnes. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify for more weekly content, and I will catch you on the next one.